Imagine a city hidden for centuries in the Cambodian jungle, so enormous that at its height, it was the largest urban center on Earth. You're probably picturing the iconic stone towers of Angkor Wat, and you're not wrong. But the true secret to the power of this incredible empire wasn't in the stone it carved, but in the water it controlled. Welcome to 10-Minute History. I'm your host, Jake Sullivan, and today we're diving deep into the story of the Khmer Empire and the spectacular water engineering machine that allowed its kings to become gods on Earth. To understand the genius of the Khmer, you first have to understand the land they lived in, a land of dramatic extremes. For 6 months of the year, from November to April, a brutal dry season baked the earth, withering crops and turning rivers into dust. Then, for the other 6 months, the monsoon would arrive, unleashing torrential floods that could wash everything away. It was a cycle of drought and deluge, scarcity and destructive surplus. Any civilization hoping to thrive here had to solve this fundamental problem. They needed to capture the destructive power of the monsoon and save it for the thirsty dry season. This wasn't just a good idea, it was an existential necessity. And the Khmer solved it on a scale that almost defies belief. The heart of their solution was the construction of colossal reservoirs called barays. These weren't just ponds, they were man-made oceans. The Khmer kings mobilized tens of thousands of laborers to move millions of cubic meters of earth, building massive dikes to create enormous rectangular lakes, all perfectly aligned with the cardinal directions. The grandest of these, the West Baray, still holds water today. It is a staggering 8 kilometers long and over 2 kilometers wide. At its peak, it held over 53 million cubic meters of water. That's about 14 billion gallons. These barays acted as the empire's giant batteries, storing the immense energy of the monsoon rains. But how did they move all that water? That's where the second part of the machine comes in, an intricate circulatory system of canals that crisscross the entire landscape. For a long time, historians thought of Angkor as a collection of temples surrounded by jungle. But recently, a revolutionary technology called LIDAR, which is like a laser-based radar, has allowed researchers to digitally strip away the jungle. And what they found completely rewrote the story. The scans revealed that Angkor was not a compact city, but a vast, low-density urban sprawl covering nearly 1,000 square kilometers, making it the largest pre-industrial city in the world by far. And the blueprint for this entire megalopolis was its water grid. This was a meticulously planned garden city, with canals acting as highways for transport, arteries for irrigation, and a water utility supplying a population of up to 1 million people. Each family lived on a plot of land with its own house, garden, and a personal pond, all connected to the larger grid. It was a masterpiece of urban planning, all centered around the management of water. So this incredible system could feed 1 million people and organize a giant city. But its purpose was even more profound than that. For the Khmer kings, controlling water was about engineering godhood itself. The state religion was centered on the idea of the Devaraja, or the God King. The king was seen as the earthly incarnation of a Hindu god, usually Shiva or Vishnu, and his duty was to maintain cosmic order on earth. And what better way to prove you're a god than to perform godlike acts? By taming the floods and conquering the drought, the king was giving a very real, very visible demonstration of his divine power. The Khmer turned their entire landscape into a living map of the Hindu cosmos. The temples were built as pyramid-shaped, temple mountains, representing the mythical Mount Meru, the home of the gods. And the massive moats surrounding them, like the 190-meter-wide moat at Angkor Wat, represented the cosmic ocean of milk from Hindu creation myths. One of the most famous carvings at Angkor Wat shows the gods churning this cosmic ocean to produce the elixir of immortality. The king, identified with the god Vishnu, was showing his people that just as the gods controlled the cosmic ocean, he controlled the waters of the kingdom, and with it the key to life and prosperity. The water network was also the ultimate instrument of political power. By controlling the water, the king controlled the food. He could reward loyal regions with a steady supply for their rice paddies, and punish rebellious ones by turning off the tap, ensuring famine. The immense agricultural surplus generated by the system funded the armies, the bureaucracy, and the glorious temples that celebrated the king's power. Control the water, and you control everything. For nearly 400 years, this brilliant system worked. It fueled a golden age of staggering wealth and artistic achievement. But this is also a cautionary tale. The very system that allowed Angkor to rise so high also contained the seeds of its downfall. The machine became a victim of its own success. To build the temples and feed the enormous population, the Khmer cleared vast areas of forest, especially on the Kulen Plateau, where the rivers that fed the system began. Without the forests to act as a natural sponge, the monsoon rains began to wash immense amounts of soil and sand off the bare hillsides. This sediment flowed directly into the canals and reservoirs, slowly choking the life out of the hydraulic machine. The canals clogged up, and the mighty barays began to fill with silt, reducing their capacity to store water. The empire became locked into a high-risk, high-maintenance system that required constant, back-breaking labor just to keep it from collapsing. The whole network had become dangerously brittle. Then came the knockout blow, climate change. Scientists studying the rings of ancient trees in the region have discovered that around the 14th and 15th centuries, the stable monsoon cycle the Khmer relied on went completely haywire. The climate became chaotic and violent. First, the empire was struck by a series of prolonged and devastating mega-droughts, some lasting for decades. Without monsoon rains, there was no water to capture. The great barays sat empty, and the system was useless. This would have meant catastrophic crop failure, famine, and a complete crisis of faith in the God King who could no longer provide water. Then, the droughts were punctuated by the opposite extreme, super monsoons of incredible intensity. These violent floods tore through the deforested landscape, bursting the dikes and shattering the already fragile canal network. The damage was too extensive to repair. This environmental collapse created a perfect storm. Weakened by famine and internal strife, the empire became vulnerable to invasion from the rising Siamese kingdom of Ayutthaya. At the same time, the state religion was shifting away from the Devaraja cult towards a more personal form of Buddhism, which didn't require building massive monuments to a god king. The political and religious will to maintain the impossibly complex water machine simply evaporated. By the mid-15th century, the great city of Angkor, its water system broken, was largely abandoned, and the jungle began its slow work of reclaiming the land. The story of Angkor is a powerful lesson in genius and fragility. It shows how a civilization can rise to celestial heights by mastering its environment, but also how vulnerable that success can be. The Khmer created a system that was perfectly optimized for a stable world, but it lacked the resilience to survive when that world changed. It's a profound tale about the intricate and often dangerous relationship between human ambition, technology, and the environment. And it's a lesson that resonates more powerfully than ever in our own time as we face our own climate challenges. So, what are your thoughts on this? Let us know down in the comments. If you found this interesting or learned something new, please give this video a like, and don't forget to subscribe to 10-Minute History for more deep dives. Thanks for listening,